Well, I believe we are live. For anybody who is going to be joining in, welcome in to this potentially historic day here in the Midwestern United States. We are now starting our coverage of the March 14th, 2025 severe weather outbreak across Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Louisiana. This is a massive system. As you can see on the left side of the screen, we have multiple severe storms starting. Already this first one moving into the area just to the north of Jefferson City. We have a very well-defined hook echo here. As you can see, very well-defined hook echo inflow notch, providing plenty of moisture into the system right now. Let a few people get in here, and we'll start discussing. Oh, we now have a tornado warning issued just to the northeast of Jefferson City here. We'll start talking about that here in a second. I'm just getting word from some other chasers that we do have a potentially observed tornado on the ground moving up the Interstate 44 corridor in south central Missouri. Just bear with me. I'm getting a few last minute things set up. If you're already watching, welcome in. We're going to be covering tonight's severe weather outbreak across the Midwest as it makes its way eastward. All right, we are just getting started here, folks. Welcome in to the March 14th, 2025 severe weather outbreak across the Midwestern United States. To start off tonight, we have a number of severe thunderstorms and tornadic supercells already firing up across the area. To start off, let's start talking about the one that's going to be on the north side of Jefferson City here, currently making its way towards Montgomery City, potentially New Florence, and Wellsville along Interstate 70. At the moment, National Weather Service has this storm tagged as radar indicated. However, I am hearing chatter that there could potentially be a touchdown somewhere on one of these storms. I'm not sure if it's this one or a different one. I will be checking that though. So move over to a velocity radar. You can see here, general area of rotation. It's pretty broad at the moment from what I'm seeing. Nothing too indicative of a tornado at the moment. We'll go ahead and switch over to our debris tracker, known as a correlation coefficient radar. Yeah, definitely nothing popping up. If we were to see a tornado touchdown on the ground, it would be picking up debris. It would look something more like a pretty blue ball, basically. You'd be able to tell a very distinct difference on radar from what you're looking at. Let's take a look at the southern cell, which is currently on the south side of St. Robert's. St. Robert moving itself northeast. I believe these cells are going to be moving about 60 to 70 miles an hour. Now, this one's moving just under 60 miles an hour. Picking up tennis ball-sized hail with it as well. Doesn't look like anything so far is on the ground based on that. Let's take a look at the velocity radar. All right, we have a very good velocity reading on this cell. You can see here, pretty well-defined area of rotation, good couplet. Rotation moving inbound toward the radar in this direction, outbound in this direction. So we have a good inflow towards the radar, but not as good of an outflow. Still something to watch, though, as it develops and does move towards Fort Leonard Wood here on the south side of St. Robert. These storms are generally going to be tracking off to the northeast, and I will go ahead and time this out for you and see what towns are potentially in the path of these cells over the next couple of hours. Track it at 60 miles an hour. And let's see, St. James, you're going to be in this cell in about 36 minutes, so just over half an hour. You've got a little bit of time, but these storms are moving fairly quickly. Let's see, Fox Springs, 43 minutes. Steelville, 47 minutes roughly. Cuba, 48 minutes. And then we get up towards 50 minutes, and these storms could move a little bit side to side, move off to the north or south, so we're going to need to pay attention to what happens there as well. Bourbon, looking just under an hour. St. Cloud, at an hour at the moment. Sullivan, you're looking 62 minutes. So we're going to see these storms picking up speed too as we move into the night. Other than that, not too much is happening at the moment. We do have a couple of new cells firing up out near Crocker, which is well south of Jefferson City, off towards a little bit towards Lake of the Ozarks. These cells, again, are going to be moving off to the northeast. So anything that fires, for anybody that's watching, in this general area, we're going to have to watch for or be concerned for as it moves off towards the Franklin County region. And I understand if you're some people over here in St. Louis County, Warren County, St. Charles County, Gasconade County, Washington County, and Crawford County, Washington County, Jefferson County. We'll also be covering areas there. We also have a couple of viewers that are being watching from down in Poplar Bluff tonight. So when storms get there, if things are still holding together, we will be watching them as well to make sure nothing happens. Okay, so it looks like we have a new development down near St. Robert. A second cell looks like it's trying to wrap around and produce a tornado. We're going to switch over to the Springfield radar here. Wow, okay, so let's dive into this, all right? So we already have numerous cells that are trying to take on a classic supercell shape. You can hear this, or you can clearly see this storm moving into Fort Leonard Wood right here. Very clear hook echo here. We have right there being the center of the rotation. We have another cell down here. You can see is just trying to get a hook echo started. Inflow notch right here is injecting warm, moist air into the storm. And then we have a third cell down here that's just trying to get that inflow notch started. And what's fueling these storms is a very strong low-level jet. So basically a bunch of warm, moist air that is pushing in from the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America, however you want to say it today, moving in, pushing up from the south, and basically injecting all of these storms with open, moist, warm air. That's what we're watching for this evening, and what is catching my eye right now is a very loosely situated cell right here, right around Crocker. I'm watching this area right here to see if it develops a little more and is reined in with this overall supercell right here. We can go ahead and switch over to our velocity radar, which will tell us what winds are looking like. There does appear to be a very weak signature right here. Remember, a green. Green signifies air moving towards radar. Red signifies it moving away. So just as a reminder here, we're watching this area to see if it develops at all, because that would be a cell that would for sure impact the Franklin County area from areas like Herman all the way down to Washington or even off towards Wildwood as well. So if you are watching tonight, we have a number of supercells that are just now starting to gain strength. We have a very open air system here pushing plenty of warm, moist air up into East Central Missouri. That's going to fuel all of these storms all the way over here as we go into the night. Storm general movement is going to be northeast between 55 and 70 miles an hour, and our threats at the moment are quite significant. We have a strong potential of tornadoes when they do potentially producing winds of over 110 miles an hour, straight line damaging wind gusts up to 90 miles an hour, and of course large hail up to baseball size, and that is possible for this entire region here. That's what we're looking at this very moment. Let's go ahead and check up on the cell that is moving towards Montgomery City. I know we've got a couple of viewers in Columbia. Columbia, you're in the clear for the rest of the night. You're just going to be experiencing a few rain showers, maybe a little bit of lightning here and there, but you're so far in the clear. Now, this cell here doesn't look like it has all that good of a signature on it on radar as far as hook echo goes. Let's see how it's doing on velocity. All right, so right off the bat, I can instantly tell we are getting some strong wind gusts in here. Radar, remember, as radar signatures move further and further away from the radar, it is harder to get an accurate reading at ground level. So while we're reading 51 miles an hour for rain particle or hail movement within the storm, this could very easily be producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. So just seeing strong signatures at some elevation above the earth could signify there could be a severe storm happening within those within that area. And as we can see here, the severe thunderstorm warning for part of that area, both that entire area actually is talking about 70 mile per hour wind gusts and hail up to quarter size or an inch in diameter. Take this moment real quick. Welcome everybody new that is joining. We have a widespread severe event that is occurring across the area and is currently making its way in. We have a number of storms that are trying to produce tornadoes. Actually, you can see right down here the storm we were just talking about earlier. It might be splitting off to the north as well. We call this a left split. This cell in particular is a little concerning because it is going to be moving towards Herman, New Haven, Washington. That's where it's going to be focusing on. St. Roberts, how are you doing down here? We are going to be looking at you continuing to move northeastward as well. We'll get back to you in a second, though. For those of you that are wondering about what all these colored boxes are here, these display power outages per customer in any given county. So right here we have Franklin County's power outage count so far. And these are just with the winds we've been experiencing today. We're looking at, so far, over 1,300 customers out of power as of right now. And that's out of 54,000 customers that have been tracked. So about 2.5% of the county's population as far as buildings go are currently out of power. And that's going to change a little bit. We got the Gascony County. That's over 10% of the county. We have 1,100 people out of power, or customers out of power, out of the over 10,000 tract. So if you see boxes like up here, that's going to display a higher number of, or higher percentage of people out of power. It doesn't necessarily mean that more people are out of power. It's just relative to the population of that county. Just thought I'd address that real quick so that anybody who's watching is caught up on that. Another thing I'm going to point out tonight, on my other screen that I've pulled up, I have a number of Storm Chasers live feed from the field, so I will be able to see what they're seeing on the ground and keep you all informed in case something does happen to touch down and they're in the expected area. Okay, we do have an update on the storm that is now moving towards Rolla and St. James. We have a confirmed tornado that is on the ground and a storm that is potentially producing up to tennis ball sized hail. This is a confirmed tornado that is on the ground, making its way northeastward, just passing to the south of Fort Leonard Wood, moving past St. Roberts. But Doolittle, Rolla, St. James, you're in the area of concern for this tornadic storm. Now, we're going to switch over to the Springfield radar and see if we can get a better idea of what is happening on the ground in there. You can see a very, very well-defined supercell thunderstorm here, a classic V-shaped or parallel line-shaped cell moving off to the northeast. You can see here a very well-defined hook echo, a classic hook signature signifying that there is rotation in the southwestern quadrant of the supercell. Let's take a look and see what's happening at ground level here with our high-res velocity. You can see a very, very noticeable radar signature. There's not so much moving away from the radar, and of course this is a good distance away from the actual radar, so we're not going to get a great view. But just over here we can tell that we have almost 100-mile-per-hour winds moving away from the radar, so a very strong signature saying that there is likely a tornado on the ground. But to make sure, let's go ahead and look at our correlation coefficient. It is difficult to tell on here whether or not there is a tornado on the ground, but of course the tag does say that a tornado has been observed, and we'll pull up that text for you here right now. Radar confirmed tornado. I don't know if anybody has seen it quite yet. Current movement is 60 miles an hour. All right. Here, go get rid of those lines for you. So that storm is going to be moving off towards Rolla. If you have any family that are in Rolla or Doolittle or anywhere between Fort Leonard Wood and St. James, really, tell them to take shelter immediately. They need to take their immediate tornado precaution, which means getting to a lowest part of their residence or the structure they're in, away from windows, away from any exterior walls. Make sure that they can get inside with adequate time. Tell them to get off the roads. If they have a basement, make sure that they go to the basement, and again, stay away from windows. Tell them it's going to be a couple minutes before they reach them if they're living in Rolla or St. James. But this so far is, at the moment, a confirmed tornado. So please do take shelter. If you're in these areas, or if you have family in these areas, please let them know that there is a radar confirmed tornado on the ground. Let's get the St. Louis radar's viewpoint from here. We have maybe a potential signature right down here. It's really hard to tell. I'm not going to say anything definite quite yet, though. And it could be, with some of these scans, that the tornado is jumping, or is touching down briefly one scan, and then is lifting back off the ground the next. If that happens, it's really hard to track the tornado and say for sure whether or not it's on the ground. Let's go ahead and run a region-wide view of the system. Play back 30 frames. You can see general storm movement is off towards the northeast. Here, I'll get rid of these hail signatures real quick for you, if I can find them. Moment. Here we go. There you go. Now you can see a little bit better. Really watching these storms down here as they make their way up the Interstate 44 corridor. These are going to be eventually impacting areas like Sullivan, St. Clair, Union, and Washington, I'm thinking. This cluster of storms here is going to be the one to watch as it makes its way towards us. Now, it is interesting to see, it's going to be really interesting to see if these storms decide to make a right turn towards St. Louis. Historically, that has happened, so we'll be watching very closely in case that does seem to happen again. But until that actually happens, I want to focus all of our attention at the cities in this path at the moment. These are the areas that are going to be at the highest risk at the moment. They're also going to be the areas of greatest concern. All right, let's take a break from the southern storms and focus a little bit further north towards Hannibal, where we just had another severe thunderstorm warning issued. I'm getting another scan on my other computer at the moment, so I'm just peeking over at that. At the moment, the Quincy cell seems to be producing winds up to 70 miles an hour with considerable damage threat on it. This cell is going to be moving into New London right now. I doubt that we have any viewers up towards Hannibal. I know we've got a lot of people south, but just in case there is anybody or anybody has family up there, let them know that they're going to have some strong winds moving towards them. It looks like the storm may be losing a little bit of strength. It does have a history of producing 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Mexico, as well as nickel-sized hail, based on this report. So just let them know they do have the storm that is moving towards them, and that they should take caution. Bear with me, I'm moving to another Storm Chasers feed real quick on my other computer. I'm just trying to keep active with what is actively happening on the ground with some of these cells. So you can see here, this is a storm chaser on my cursor, and we have another one off towards Festus, I guess moving south to intercept storms down there. All right, folks, already we have an active night. For those of you who are just joining, we have a confirmed tornado on the ground based on radar, just passing to the south of Fort Leonard Wood, really coming into close contact there. We're kind of in a radar hole where a lot of these storms down here are. So radar quality isn't going to be as good as it could be. However, they're still confirmed on the ground tornadoes, and we need to treat them. Even if they may not be on the ground, we still need to treat them as though as they are. So again, just to run through, make sure you're getting to shelter. If you can, get to a basement or a center room of the structure you're in. Get away from windows, and just ride it out until the warning is clear or the siren where you are sounds the all clear notice. Just like that, we're getting a new scan from the rapid scan on RadarOmega. This is what we're using, so if any of you want to go out and look at it, it is RadarOmega. Their radar system's actually pretty nice. They've got a lot of neat features on it. Go ahead and check our velocity once again. The couplet on this cell, you'll notice normally they're a lot tighter like this, but it appears as though it's spread out quite a bit. So it might signify that the tornado has weakened or that the storm may be recycling itself to produce another one soon. But I would still treat this cell as though it had a tornado on the ground. The good news is we are starting to get within a more accurate range of our St. Louis radar, which is located in Weldon Springs, if those of you who are watching didn't know. Once we get within that range, we'll really be able to see with some level of accuracy the data that's being brought in. Just in case we have anybody joining the stream from anywhere south, I know we've got a couple people down near Poplar Bluff. You all are going to have storms this afternoon as well. they aren't going to be until much later in the evening. Right now at 7:39, I wouldn't expect storms to make it towards you until maybe 10 or 11. That is, unless we do have storms pop up towards the south, which it looks like we've got cells popping up in northwestern and central Arkansas. Little Rock, you're expecting some cells as well. Basically, what's going to happen with this system, and I'll give you a brief model rundown. So we have a number of strong cells all along this front here. Now, this isn't going to be a completely accurate depiction of what will happen, but these cells in general will move through the area in the next 2 to 3 hours roughly. And any one of these cells, again, this isn't a perfect representation of what will happen, but any of these cells could become severe and drop a tornado, could drop very large hail up to baseball size, and potentially produce wind gusts up to 90 miles an hour. But these storms are expected to make their way out of the area in a relatively quick fashion. I'm just bringing up the 9 o'clock scan here. For those of you who are curious, this is what this forecast model is anticipating. Those storms to the south pushing up along the Interstate 44 corridor, and we have a couple of cells that may move up towards Washington. Again, it's not a perfect image, but it gives you a general idea of what to expect. And what's also to note with this system is we do have plenty of energy, and we have a surge of moisture out ahead of them. Dew points in Sullivan, which I believe were last collected actually just 5 minutes ago, are increasing very rapidly, and that increase in moisture is just going to provide more fuel for these severe thunderstorms. So just a quick heads up there. Let's go take a peek at what's happening in the south real quick, down on our southern cell. That's interesting. It looks like this. Okay, so the tornado warning on the Fort Leonard Wood looks like it lifted, or it's no longer being indicated on radar. However, we have a second cell. Excuse the cursor, it's halfway dying on me. Another cell down here that somehow has an observed tornado tag on it. Let me switch over, because this might be a developing situation. Hang on, let me look. Let's see. Okay, so this signature up here that's just now past Fort Leonard Wood and is moving towards Rollin St. James looks like it is trying to tighten up again. Really need to pay attention to this, folks. This could be accurately developing, or a rapidly developing situation. But also note, this down here, this looks like it could potentially be a new area of development as far as rotation goes, embedded within this cell. But we're so far away from the radar, it is kind of hard to tell. So take it with a grain of salt at the moment. I doubt anybody down quite that far is paying attention to this. However, if you are, this is what we're expecting. Okay, so one thing that I'm noting with this northern cell here is, well, actually, let me check our latest scan. It hasn't come through yet here. But we're noticing a quite distinct merging between this cell and this cell. And I'm wondering if they're going to cut from their northeasterly motion, if they're going to start moving east at some point. If that happens, then I expect we may see a gap for the Franklin County region, but that's only if something like that were to occur. I'm going to run a playback on the system real quick. It looks like they're still holding their northeasterly movement up towards Washington, St. Clair, Union. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens, though. Still plenty of time. We've got about an hour or so until it starts impacting the St. Louis, or not the St. Louis, the Franklin County region. Maybe less than that. But anything can happen at that time. Let's not forget these cells over here, which, if you're watching the stream, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for Gasconade County. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-sized hail, considerable damage threat with this system. We'll bring up the text for you. This is going to be until 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Looks like storm motion actually slowing down a little bit, 55 miles an hour for the current speed. It does look like all of it is radar indicated at the moment. So we will be watching to see what does occur with this. But as I was going to say beforehand, we also need to take care and watch for these cells in this gap here. Wait, while I'm distracted. Okay, so there was damage in Holt Summit, north of Jeff City. But we do need to watch for all of these cells here as they continue to move northeastward towards areas like Herman, Owensville, New Haven, potentially Washington. We need to watch as they move that way because they could rapidly intensify and potentially begin to produce a tornado of its own. That's going to be the concern over the next hour, and I'm going to actually walk you through it minute by minute, what's expected in that time period. So we have the radar indicated tornado down here, St. James, up through, we'll say up to the radar site here. That's going to be our general motion. Put it down 60 miles an hour, and that speed could fluctuate, by the way. And this is going to give a list of all the towns that could be impacted by the system. So we have Rolla. You're looking at about 15 minutes at this point until this storm makes impact. St. James, you're about 25 minutes. Cuba, you're about 35 minutes, just over half hour. You've got a little bit of time. I would start moving towards shelter if you haven't already in these locations. Bourbon, you're about 3/4 of an hour, 45 minutes, I'd say, at this point. Owensville, you're just looking at about 50 minutes or less at your location. As we get further and further away, Union, I'm putting you, or the radar rather, is putting you at just over an hour warning until these storms do make impact. The strength and the path could vary greatly during that time, so I would just keep a close eye on the storm until it gets closer. I'd say once here, within a half hour of the storm impacting, we'll have a much better idea of what y'all will be expecting. But again, things can change. Hang on, I'm getting reports of wind damage in Berger from potential non-thunderstorm winds. Let me confirm that report real quick. Lots of reports are coming in. Let's see. Yes, we have a down tree blocking one lane of Route VV near Berger, Missouri. This is in Franklin County. Actually, no, this is supposedly a thunderstorm wind gust coming from this. Very interesting. Excuse me. So, Berger, you're way up here, and you're already getting severe thunderstorm wind gusts. That is an interesting development. That means that winds from these thunderstorms here are making their way all the way out into Franklin County already, and they're about a half hour to an hour away at this point. Something to really keep in mind, I guess, with these stronger winds that are impacting at the moment. We also have another report of severe thunderstorm wind damage in Callaway County. We're going to be looking at, I'll find my mouse. We're looking at reported thunderstorm gusts of 60 miles an hour, reported by the local television station. So no damage to go with, but there was a recorded 60-mile-per-hour wind gust down in Callaway County here. Plenty of developments as the night continues. I'm going to be here until the system exits the St. Louis area off into Illinois, when I know that everybody will be safe. For the Poplar Bluff folks down there, I don't know if you're watching this quite yet, but you guys actually might start seeing stuff in the next couple of hours. Go check the cell and see what their movement is. 50 miles an hour. We'll just say something that pops up down here and moves off this direction. We'll say, we'll be generous and give it 55 miles an hour. Poplar Bluff, you're looking about 200 minutes, so just over 3 hours until you could potentially have storms in your area. Speed could fluctuate for anybody that's watching down there, but just keep your eye on it over the next few hours as the system develops. I'd put your time of impact potentially after 11 p.m. local. All right, let's focus back in on what is actively happening in the area. We do have a number of these cells off towards Jefferson City and east of there down towards Vienna, Freiburg, Lynn. They have some structure. They're not pleasant looking as far as structure goes, but they have the capability of producing some damaging wind gusts at the moment. Nothing is really indicated quite yet, but we just need to keep our eye on it. That's the main picture. We already have wind gusts occurring outside my window, actually at the moment, 50, 55 miles an hour at times. So any thunderstorm wind gust, even if it's just a 20 mile per hour gust, could very well push that wind over the severe limits and produce a 70 or even an 80 mile per hour wind gust just because we have the wind occurring right now. Let's go ahead and take a look down at Rolla. This tornadic thunderstorm is still saying that it is radar indicated. However, we'll see if that is still the case in a few moments. Not really seeing anything on the ground. Maybe a little bit of hail within the system. Hail, or it could just be noise from the radar, or just interference. Let's get a look at what's happening. Not really anything. It looks a little weak at the moment, but it's still a little bit outside the main radar ring. So we'll give it a few minutes, let it move into the area, see what happens. Looks like we are getting a new scan on our reflectivity. Give it a few moments to come around, and we'll see what happens there. Up towards Montgomery and Bellflower, moving off towards Bowling Green, Missouri. We do still have a tornado warning on this cell. I believe that it's going to be allowed to expire, but let's just confirm that real quick. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any real area of concern along this line. Doesn't mean something couldn't happen, but it just tells you that something is not likely to happen at the moment. Actually, I would pay a little bit of attention to this spot just north side of Montgomery City. If there is anybody up there, it's just an interesting area of development. Pretty bland, I guess is the right word to use for it. Nothing really happening there, but it just looks a little tighter and stronger in this region. It could develop into something if the right conditions were applied. Let's see. Okay, we have a report coming in from St. Charles County, actually 2 miles east of St. Charles. Emergency management reports a non-thunderstorm wind gust that reportedly blew down a brick wall on the side of a building. There's reportedly debris in the roadway. This is over in St. Charles. A non-thunderstorm wind gust that reportedly blew down a wall of a brick building. Either that means the building was very poorly constructed or something catastrophic happened with that wind gust. Very interesting. Alright, I'm going to step away for a couple minutes, I think, let things develop a little bit. I am going to leave the stream running, and I'll let you all watch this for 5 minutes while I go get a drink real quick. Alright? I'll be back in a second, and we'll keep you all updated going through the evening as these storms make their way through the Franklin County area. I'll be back in just a few. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to continue our coverage of the live severe weather event that is occurring right now. Stepped out for a couple minutes, refresh myself, let a couple new things pop in information-wise. I know it gets redundant when people are repeating themselves over and over again. But right now, we're going to step right back into things. Let's see. Alright, what do we got? Numerous reports of strong winds across the area. Sorry, I'm checking the Storm Prediction Center currently. See what they're talking about. They apparently are discussing another tornado watch. Alright, so it appears that the Storm Prediction Center just issued a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch for this general area, so including our Poplar Bluff friends. A particularly dangerous situation means that intense severe storms are likely. So in this particular instance, we're talking about violent tornadoes. That is currently what we're expecting. All right, we're looking down at St. James and Rolla. We do have an observed tornado on the ground right now, just outside of Rolla, moving into St. James as we speak. I moved away at the wrong time, ladies and gentlemen. We have a confirmed tornado on the ground. Let's see if we have confirmed tornado. Rolla Fire Department confirmed tornado in Rolla, Missouri. This is in Rolla, currently happening right now. If you have family in Rolla or St. James and they're not on the ground, they need to be now. Make sure you get them on the horn and tell them, hey, take shelter. This is happening at this moment. There's too much noise in Rolla to be able to tell if anything is actually happening with the correlation coefficient, our debris tracker. But it does appear that there is a hook echo on this storm. You can see here with that being the center. That might actually be the debris ball right here. Normally when we see purple, we think hail or heavy rain. This could actually be debris being lifted aloft on the southeastern side of Rolla right now. So we're moving, probably at this point, we're up towards the subdivisions Oak Meadow Country Club, potentially about to cross Interstate 44 right around St. James. If you're in St. James, you need to be underground right now. There's a confirmed tornado on the ground moving towards your location. I repeat, there is a tornado on the ground moving towards your location. And on top of that, this storm could also be producing tennis ball-sized hail and wind gusts over 70 miles an hour. So this is a confirmed tornado on the ground, not a drill, actually happening. Moving towards St. James, currently in Rolla, maybe just slightly past Rolla at this point, moving into St. James as we speak. Let me bring up a couple different things. I'm getting all sorts of alerts as we're moving into this event, so just bear with me. There's a ton of information to take in. All right. Not seeing anything yet on my spotter reports. However, we are getting an idea of what is still happening. Still observed on the ground. Let's see if we can get a view inside the storm with our debris tracker. Basically, the tornado is anywhere in this ball right here. So it could be this spot, it could be this spot, it could be this spot, it could be any of those individual places. It's really hard to tell with the amount of noise. But the thing is, there has been a confirmed tornado on the ground. So make sure you're taking shelter immediately. Otherwise, you could risk losing your life. That's the unfortunate thing. Let's take a look off towards the southwest of Owensville real quick, where we have noticed a couple of cells trying to gain a little bit of strength. The thing is, though, I don't know how much they'll be able to gain since these cells on the southern line seem to be hoarding it all for themselves, which we'll cover those here in just a moment. But it does look like we could still see some severe wind gusts from these, maybe a little bit of hail. Not expecting too much from those cells, though, at the moment. Take a look at velocity. Maybe a weak couplet trying to develop here or here. but I'm not holding out too much for that, given the weak state of that system. So at the moment, I would just be watching out for some severe wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, potentially, maybe a couple pieces of hail. It's this system down here that I'm worried about most at the moment. Go ahead and track its movement real quick. Actually, we'll lower that from 30 frames down to 14. Give you a better idea. It is still holding its northeasterly track, as you can tell, moving towards central Franklin County. So, Union, St. Clair, Washington, you need to really start paying attention, because if this continues to hold its track and it continues to have open air off to the south, which I'm seeing a little bit of convection storm popping up, so that might be a limiting factor once we get into Franklin County. But if these storms continue to hold their strength, we'll see a tornadic situation begin to develop south of Owensville, crossing over the 44 around Cuba. Actually, it might be moving into St. James right now. That might be a thing. It might be to the north of St. James. But we're going to see that really moving off into Franklin County here in just a few moments. So this needs to be made cell priority number 1. All right? Getting an update on that. Still looks like we do have hook echo on this cell. Potentially trying to merge. And just in case anybody is trying to look out their window at this, this is not a cell you're going to be able, or a tornado you're going to be able to see. It looks as though it's going to be rain wrapped. So don't even try to look outside at this point. Just focus on getting to shelter. It looks like it's just moved past St. James. We'll get an idea of what's happening there. Potentially a debris ball. It looks fairly weak, so I wouldn't call it one at the moment, but that would be potentially what we're looking at for a debris ball. So not terribly strong, which is a very good thing considering it is on the ground, but it is potentially debris nonetheless. I do not currently know if there is an active tornado on the ground at this point. It's possible that it has already jumped once again. So, with that in mind, I'm going to shift my focus a little bit, get you all a 3D scan of what's happening within this cell in particular. Unfortunately, it has to go a few frames back. Actually, I'm going to cancel that scan. We just had another tornado warning issued, this time south of Rolla. Another storm has just became radar indicated tornadic and is moving towards Steelville. So it appears. Oh, let me get an idea for movement real quick again. These storms are still moving towards Franklin County. This one is going to really track along Interstate 44 up towards Wildwood, I'm thinking, if it holds a current track. This might actually start sucking energy from this front cell, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how that develops over the next half hour. Regardless, though, these cells are going to continue to pose a severe risk for the area as they move up into Franklin County. It looks like the northern extent of the cells is actually already crossing over. They just tagged on and extended the warning into Franklin County, currently radar indicated, so there's not a confirmed tornado on the ground on that storm any longer. However, still radar indicated, still very dangerous. If you're in the areas of Japan, Elmont, Spring Bluff, Champion City, Strange, Mitford, Gerald, Leslie, Beaufort, Sullivan, I would say you're also in a risk as well. St. Clair, and I'd say off towards Union. You should start moving towards your basement right now. This is currently a tornadic storm, has a history of producing at least 2 tornadoes, and it looks like it could continue to produce a third if it continues to gain energy. We'll see if it recycles, however. this cell off to the south, which is going to follow, for the most part, the same track, could suck some of the energy from that storm. So we'll need to watch that very carefully. Because this one currently has the skies, for the most part, to itself, barring any additional convection off to its south. But if that does happen, these storms will weaken. Although I don't expect that to happen too much before it makes its way into Franklin County. I'm going to check my streams real quick from other folks. We've got one chaser that's hanging tight in Festus as storms move towards them. And we have another who's moving on Interstate 70 trying to get out ahead of all of this. All right. I'm starting to see lightning outside my window. So we're going to start seeing storms really soon up here. For those who don't know, I'm up in northeastern Franklin County, so these cells are also moving towards me. If these things do happen to produce more tornadoes and do get relatively close to me, I may evacuate to my basement, so I may go dark for a few minutes. But as of right now, that is not an immediate worry for me. But it should be for a lot of these people here. Let's go ahead and track out timing for this individual cell. Here, we'll get it to its last frame. Here we go. So, I'm going to target the hail here, because that's what I'm worried most about for the next few minutes. We're going to kind of track it this way, and we'll push it at 60 miles an hour. All right. Leslie, you're about 25 minutes out from being hit. Let's see. St. Clair, you're a half hour or less away. Union, you're just over half an hour away from getting hit. Krakow, roughly the same. Washington, you're less than 40 minutes away from potentially being hit by this storm. Villa Ridge, you're right about that same amount of time. Marthasville, I think you're going to be off to the north and should be, for the most part, in the clear. Bowles and Labadie, 45 minutes, roughly where I am. Gray Summit, same amount of time. Augusta, same. We're going to keep watching as the storm continues to move off to the north. So for those of you who are watching right now, we have an active situation that is still currently developing. We're about to get another frame, so let's see what's happening within the storm. Hard to say. It's kind of an interesting structure. Got a little wigwag going on here. Very interesting. Let's get a reading on what's happening down here. There is still a pretty well-defined gust front associated with this. I'm getting pretty good wind gusts where I am right now. I hear the house creaking a little bit, but we do have a fairly evident rotation couple in that region. There's also a potential for all of these areas to pop up as well, as far as that rotation goes. So we'll be watching that very, very closely as it continues to move forward. And then obviously, this additional cell down to the south, it looks like it's going to try to track more towards Steelville and south of the Interstate 44 corridor for just a few minutes, but I would also anticipate it to potentially cross over just like this northern cell did a few minutes ago. We're going to go ahead and send it over to correlation code. Oh, well, that's interesting. We might have a tornado on the ground. See, this is currently radar indicated, but I can't tell. That might be a debris ball, or potentially it's the hail. If that's hail, that is massive hail falling in Jake Prairie, that little township. I would say it's likely the hail, if I would have to guess right. But we'll go ahead and switch over and just get a better idea. Yeah, likely large hail falling in Lake Prairie, Royal, Mount Pleasant Ford, this general area of Crawford County. That's going to be moving off towards the Franklin County region here in just a few minutes, so keep your eyes on that. Give me a second, I've got to answer something real quick. All right, I'm going to take a peek over my storm chasers real quick and see what they're recording. And by the way, if any of you do start getting things like hail or damaging wind gusts, or you have storm damage you'd like to report, please let me know. You can send me the videos. I will probably end up posting them on my Instagram and just tagging you in them, or giving you credit for them for the videos on there. But it's a good way to just get an idea of what's happening, and it gives the National Weather Service as well an idea of what's going on the ground, even after the storm, so they can gather data. So yeah, if you guys want to send me pictures or videos or whatever, or if you do see a tornado and you do happen to get a picture, which I would strongly recommend not sticking around long enough to get one. If you're upstairs and you see one, it probably means it either just touched down or you weren't paying attention. But if you do get a picture that you want to send to somebody, you can go ahead and send it to me and I'll get it out there. All right, back to weather. Still radar indicated with golf ball size hail potentially falling on this storm as it moves into Franklin County. Very, very large hail core on this storm as well. Ooh, actually, that's a little interesting. Notice this little bit of spiral and this inflow notch here on this cell. That's very interesting. And it looks like we do kind of have a little bit of a couplet. It's a weak couplet, but it's there. Okay, I'm going to start watching this cell moving through Gasconade County now as well. So, for anybody that's just now joining, we have 3 cells of concern for the Franklin County region. At the moment, the chief one is this cell right here, where it looks like it could be trying to regroup. If nothing else, it is up. And just as I say that, this cell goes tornado warned. This is an immediate tornado warning for the following areas: New Haven. This might be Gasconade in here. Nope. New Haven, Marthasville, potentially Washington, depending on how this moves, and I'd even say Herman. Pay close attention. Storm motion is northeast, moving at, let's see, what is the speed on it? Currently moving at 55 miles an hour, so it's a pretty quick mover. Surprisingly on the north side of the system. It's very interesting. I wouldn't have expected enough energy to be present out in front of this to develop. So now we have 3 main cells of concern for the region for anybody who is watching. We have this southern cell down towards Steelville. We have this main cell here that is going to be impacting Franklin County with large hail here in a bit. And we also have this cell in Gasconade County that's going to be moving towards New Haven and Marthasville. Let's go ahead and time out the... actually, real quick, let's get an idea if there's any debris happening. Ooh, okay, we do have potentially something on the ground. So far, this says radar indicated. However, if we come over here, either that's a pretty good hail core right there, or that could potentially be debris. I'm willing to bet that it's hail, though. Still a relatively weak radar signature, but still one to pay attention to nonetheless on this cell. And again, this is moving towards New Haven and Marthasville. Let's time it out for you, folks. Actually, just said 55 miles an hour. All right, so New Haven, you have, I would say, just under 25 minutes to get prepared for this. I would say move towards your shelter, take shelter now. Again, for anybody who's in a tornado warning right now, you'll be wanting to take your immediate tornado precaution within the confines of your home or whatever structure you're going to be. Get away from any windows or exterior walls. Try to get into a central part of the building, or if you can, get underground. If you have a basement or a storm cellar, get into that. That is going to be your best place to go for safety. So again, on the cell that is moving towards New Haven and towards Marthasville, we do have a radar-indicated tornado. New Haven, you're looking at just under 25 minutes until you're hit. Marthasville, roughly a half hour, does so a little longer. So, with that said, let's go ahead and take a peek at what's happening to the south. It does look like this cell is actually trying to regroup a little bit. We can see the shape is really quite odd for a supercell. I don't know that I've really ever seen a supercell that's moving to the northeast look like that before. But if it drops a tornado, it is just as dangerous as anything else. So let's get this radar scan in. We might have two hooks here, folks. So you see this here? You see this here? These are potentially two hook echoes on the same cell. Very interesting. No confirmed tornado on it at the moment, and nothing confirmed on this cell at the moment either. So let's go ahead and look at our debris tracker here. What is that? Okay, so that's hail. That's potentially golf ball or even larger size hail within the confines of this cell. I'm more concerned. Hang on. We might have a tornado. No, it's probably just noise. It looks like it's just noise on the radar. So potential tornado here, I would say, and another potential developing tornado down here. So this storm still has a great potential for producing especially large hail, but also severe thunderstorms. Okay, we are just getting back some information from Phelps County, where it appears that almost 4,500 customers out of 11,800 are out of power. We do have a tornado that did earlier make its way through Rolla. It was confirmed by the Rolla Fire Department to be on the ground, so we do have damage down there that emergency responders are currently responding to. But there's more potential for tornadoes as we move through the evening. Let's take a look down south real quick. Numerous tornado warnings already on cells in Arkansas. These are going to be impacting our friends in Poplar Bluff. We have Borges Stuco at, I guess, a summit or something down there. They'll be getting impacted later tonight off towards, I'd say, 11 o'clock potentially. So let's get a movement on these cells. 65 miles an hour, so these cells are moving quite rapidly. I'll just time it out for you. Let's look at Poplar Bluff. You're looking, I'd say, about 2.5 hours until you really need to start moving towards shelter, if these storms are still severe. Alright, so our southern cell did tag on and extend for that tornado warning. You can see very well-defined hook echo. Smart move by the National Weather Service, and it does appear that that cell is going to just try, they're going to try to map it out moving on the southern side. So areas such as Steelville especially, not really anything else between there and Jefferson County. But Steelville, you're going to be the main concern. If anybody has anybody who lives in Steelville, just let them know that there is a potential tornado on the ground. Nothing confirmed as of right now for that area. However, it does appear that it is possible that there could be one that could touch down really any minute now. Okay, that's interesting. Looks like large hail is also falling with this cell as it moves northeast, moving potentially through Cuba. Yeah, it looks like it's just about to move through Cuba. This is a pretty strong hail core. I'm going to try to get you a 3D scan of these cells. We'll see if they want to cooperate. Yeah, all right. Let's get our main cell up here. We'll see if anything's being captured. Not really any hail being held aloft. It might just be some really heavy rain, but I'm thinking there's also probably some hail in there as well. It's just not being detected aloft. Look down here. Here is a hail core, ladies and gentlemen. This cell has some stuff that is being lifted very high aloft. At this point, the scan is only detecting it going up to 25,000 feet, but that's all potentially some large hail in the updraft. It also shows that there's a strong updraft on the storm, which could also influence tornado development. Let's take a look over here. Nothing at the moment. We'll take a look at our northern cell that's going to be impacting New Haven and Marthasville. Nothing on that either of real concern, but still, just because it's not detecting something in the air doesn't mean something could be aloft, such as debris or large hail. All right, they just modified the tornado warning for Franklin County and what's left of Gasconade and Crawford County's warning. They're still projecting that moving off towards Leslie, Gerald, Union, St. Clair, and beyond Labadie, Washington, those regions. Still watching to see if it regroups. It still has a large amount of moisture still available to it, so we'll see if it tries to bring in some more energy here in a moment. I mean, aside from the tornado that's moved through Rolla and the other touchdown we had, and some large hail that is currently falling in the southwest, fairly quiet night compared to what we were expecting, which is always a risk. I mean, you have high-risk events like we were just being told about today, and sometimes the ingredients are there and the storms just don't come to fruition, or other times we underpredict and the system overperforms. Sometimes that happens. But at the moment, we still have active tornado warnings. We still have storms that are very much capable of producing tornadoes in the air. And pretty much as soon as we try to change something or say maybe it's not going to do anything, we'll jinx ourselves and it'll actually do something. Just really trying to focus in on this storm that's moving into Franklin County towards New Haven right now. Just making sure nothing is going to pop out and scare us. Doesn't really look like there's all that much of a rotation signature on it at the moment either. So we'll watch. We'll see if that tries to regain some strength, but not holding on to too much hope. Ooh, okay. We do have re-strengthening occurring in 2 locations, as you can see here. Location 1, I guess the township of T in Gasconade County. I've never heard of that town. I don't know who else has. And we have another area of rotation towards Japan. Off in Franklin County, we'll get a new scan. Yes, 2 very, very large areas of rotation. These are 2 notable areas of concern right here. 2 potential tornadoes that could form from this cell. Nothing is currently indicated. Franklin County is actually approaching 2,000 customers without power. Okay. Very interesting. These are storms of concern. This cell here, south of Rosebud, is currently moving towards Washington. So, if you're in Gerald, Leslie, Buford, Noser Mill, Krakow, Union, Spring Bluff, Sullivan, you might be in the clear. I would just move towards the basement just in case this southern cell tries to move north. St. Clair, and then off towards Villa Ridge, Gray Summit, Labadie, Wildwood. Y'all should really, if you're in the morning, obviously be moving towards shelter. Otherwise, start getting ready to go towards the basement, because it does look like we could have something develop. We might have actually had intensification on this cell up here as well. That's rather interesting. Also to note, on this cell, wind gusts being reported over 60 miles an hour on radar. That's a 71 mile per hour wind gust right there. And it definitely seems like it's gusting that high outside my window. I can hear it. The trees are really banging around outside. So we do have two large areas of concern. One is this down here towards Japan, where it looks like the storm could be trying to recycle, and then up here to the south of Rosebud, that could also potentially turn into something. It doesn't look like it's going to have the energy needed, but weather's unpredictable. You never know. It could very well happen. It could completely bust on us. We'll see. Regardless, though, large hail is anticipated with this system. Currently, we're looking at golf ball-sized hail being radar indicated, so just watch out for that, folks. I'm going to take a look on my other computer real quick, just get an idea of where folks are. Looks like we're having another scan come across the region as well here in just a moment. Man, the storm down south is currently moving in the direction of just the south side of Cuba. Looks to be getting pretty strong. Let's get a look and see what's happening down there. You can definitely see the radar indicated rotation. Not as much as visible with storm relative velocity, but sometimes it is like that. We're just going to take a look north real quick, see what's happening in the rest of the area on the north side. A couple of warnings are still being issued. Winds of 70 miles an hour are generally expected with these cells. Pretty strong one up towards Louisiana, crossing into Illinois right now. I don't expect anybody's going to be impacted by that here in a few minutes, on the Missouri side at least. And we're still watching this New Haven cell. Anybody who is in a tornado warning, move towards shelter, because we've seen already that these tornadoes have a potential to just drop down, cause damage, and lift up in a few moments' time. And even if it's on the moment for 1 or 2 minutes, or on the ground for just 1 or 2 minutes, it could still cause plenty of damage. Sorry, I'm answering a message at the moment. All right, so what is happening outside of Gerald? Wow, that is a massive hook echo. Let's get an idea of what's happening. Well, we will once this updates. It looks like it's going to try to update here in just a moment. Again, this cell outside, just moving into Franklin County now, really looks quite strong. Again, we have two areas of concern with this. This hook echo down here could be producing rotation, and then this hook echo right here are the main areas of concern. I am also watching this potential hook echo right here, and then maybe something that even developed down towards Beaumont. Not Beaumont, or Beaufort, Beaumont. So many small towns in this area. Oh, it looks like we are getting a new scan, so bear with us, folks, while this comes in. Just running it down again. Leslie, Noser Mill, Beaufort, you're going to start seeing hail or heavy rain any minute now. Gerald, you should be inside in your basement right now. You're probably getting this rotation right at this moment. Okay, so the Gerald. Okay. So we have 3 decently distinct hook echoes right now, actually. Okay. Let's see what happens. Let's really see what happens. Just got an update. Not really anything detected on the ground yet. However, that could very well change. Rotation-wise, yes, this... Okay. 3 technically areas of very large concern. Primarily this cell right here passing just to the northwest of Sullivan. We also have this cell outside of Gerald and this 3rd cell outside New Haven. So anybody who is just now joining, we have 3 areas for tornadoes to drop down, with more off to the south that'll be moving south of the Interstate 44 corridor off into St. Louis in a little while. Right now, we just got an update to a tornado warning. Let me see what's happening. Bring it up on my other computer. Just looks like they just pulled out a gas grenade and shortened it for Franklin County. I'm expecting them to tag on and extend that any minute now. Nothing is confirmed on the ground at this moment. However, again, I've seen it before. Something drops out of nowhere and we get a very large tornado. Happened to my aunt and uncle this past year. They had maybe 5 minutes on the ground and it was already producing EF3 damage, which is winds up to 165 miles an hour within a town. All right, we got another scan. Our signature down here, just passing between Sullivan and Spring Bluff, currently moving off to the northeast, is going to pass on the north side of St. Clair. Anybody got Colt Denbo's number? I think it's going to be moving pretty close to him, so if anybody's watching and has his number, just let him know to get into shelter, because he's got a potential tornado moving towards him right now. We'll see what this updates to show. Yes, this is increasing in strength. I'm also watching this up here in case it tries to recycle, but I think it's losing strength. Also, a large area of rotation, pretty well defined off towards New Haven. It looks like it's going to pass just to the west of New Haven, but we're still monitoring that in case it does decide to shift just barely south. So, folks, right now we have a very alarming situation. 3 potential tornadoes on the ground within the Franklin County area. This is a very active system. We're going to watch and see how this develops over the coming few minutes. 3 strong, historically damage-producing storms moving into the area. I'm going to just check storm reports real quick, see if anything new has came in the past couple of minutes. Looks like we just are getting another update. Let's go ahead and check our correlation coefficient, our damage, our debris tracker. Nothing at the moment. We are getting a new scan, though. Tornado on the ground. Tornado looks to be potentially on the ground on the west side of New Haven. We do have what could very well be a debris ball just forming on the west side of Highway 100. If you have folks in New Haven, Etla, Bernheimer, pardon me for butchering some of these names, Treelor, Holstein, Concord Hill, Pinckney, there is a potential tornado on the ground right here. It looks like it just could have touched down. When I'm looking at this, I'm referencing this potential debris ball right here. This could be a tornado on the ground. As far as everywhere else goes, it doesn't look like anything is on the ground yet on these southern cells. However, they are very strong and are holding strength at the moment. So we're going to watch and continue to watch. Yeah, this one's holding strength. This one's holding about where it is. This looks like it is an actual tornado on the ground, though. So we have 1 active tornado on the ground. If anybody is in those areas, please let them know we do have something that is likely on the ground and moving just to the north of New Haven at the moment. That'll be a radar confirmed when it is updated. Nothing else evident at the moment. Lots of hail is going to be impacting the visibility on some of these radar signatures. So we'll go ahead, look and see. Okay, man, even there, that's a strong signature. Yeah, again, this is now our #1 priority. We have people in the path of this tornado. If anybody knows anybody in this general area, I'm going to time out this tornado. It's probably just crossed 100 at this point, moving towards Innsbruck, moving at roughly 60 miles an hour. I would say, Etla, you're probably right about to be hit here in just a minute. If you're not in your basement, you should be. Pinckney, 5 minutes when it crosses the river. Asimov, you're looking just under 10 minutes. Innsbruck, you're looking 15 minutes off to the far northwest. It looks like we're going to get another scan here right now. Yes, this is most definitely a tornado on the ground, right crossing the Missouri River here in just a moment. This is actively impacting structures outside New Haven, and we just had an extension for the rest of Franklin. Tornado on the ground, tornado on the ground. Noser Mill, tornado is on the ground, confirmed, causing damage. This is a radar confirmed tornado on the ground, moving through Noserville, heading towards the west side of Union and up towards potentially Washington. It's going to split Highway 47 between there. We have an active tornado on the ground. This is a critical situation now. We have a confirmed damaging tornado on the ground. Noser Mill moving through Franklin County, just about to impact a small airfield, Findlay Field, along Highway 50. If you know people in this area, get them on the phone, tell them to take shelter. There are 2 tornadoes currently on the ground, as detected by radar in Franklin County. Both of them moving northeast. One we have on the northwest side of New Haven, another one on the southwest side, Franklin County, potentially moving towards Washington. So if you are in these areas, you need to take immediate tornado precautions. Get underground, get to your basement, get to the center part of your house. This is an active situation right now. We're going to switch over and look at our velocity. Has not updated yet, but I'm willing to bet that that is our tornado right there. No, this is our northern. This is the Gerald cell that's producing this. This is moving through Noser Mill right now. Likely tornado on the ground. This is our Noser Mill cell from the looks of it. Potentially another whole another area of rotation that just popped up. Potentially. Oh, this is weird. This just dropped out of nowhere, but it seems way too deep to just be hail. This could very well be a tornado on the ground, and there's just no indication of it at the moment. So if you are in Noser Mill, if you're in Union, if you're in Krakow, treat this as though it is an actual tornado on the ground. It does look like it is a debris signature, but we won't have confirmation until somebody either lays eyes on it or it becomes more distinct with a rotation. So please take this into account. The cell up here, New Haven, is most definitely a tornado on the ground. It is probably across the Missouri River right now and is moving to the north of Marthasville. So this is at least an active tornado. This is potentially a tornado on the ground. It is just difficult to tell at the moment, given how much noise there is on radar. Well, if that wasn't a tornado, this definitely is. This is, see, look, this just disappears. So potentially not a tornado. We won't know until damage surveys are done. We'll have to keep that in mind. However, this down here, we'll see how that tracks with the rotation. Yes, this is most definitely a tornado on the ground, moving towards Union, towards the east side of Union at this moment. All right, so we have an active tornado on the ground moving towards Union. If you all have folks in Union, I know a lot of you are, you need to get to your storm shelters immediately. This is a tornado that is on the ground, causing damages, potentially lifting trees aloft, moving towards Highway 47 on the south side of Union. Still watching stuff towards Gerald. And it looks like potentially the tornado that was off towards Pinckney moving northeast might be weakening, if not has already lifted. So that is good. It's good before it hits anywhere else. Let's get this to load back in. Maybe we'll. There we go. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to rattle off a couple messages. All right, so at the moment we have 2 confirmed tornadoes that are on the ground. Southern cells are still going strong. However, they don't have anything confirmed as of right now. More debris is being lifted aloft, heading near the I don't even know how to pronounce that. Aker Ford? Terribly sorry about the pronunciation. But this is moving towards you, and that's likely going to be a good bit of damage there. Also, at Nair, it looks like the Pinckney storm has potentially lifted, which is a good thing. What else? Yeah. Surely not that. Surely that's not it. No, it just looks like dead air. Okay. Yes, it looks like, so this cell looks like it has lifted as tornado. Entirely possible that this storm near Gore recycles and tries to produce another one. Right now, though, our main focus is on the tornado that is currently on the ground moving towards Union. This is a tornado that is on the ground moving towards Union right now. We'll switch over to velocity and have another look at that. Very, very, very strong hook echo as it moves over Aker Ford. And we're going to head and track out timing of this. We'll also give you an idea of how it's moving. Moving due northeast. That's actually coming right towards me. That's concerning. What is the movement on this? I'm trying to get a speed on this cell. 55 miles an hour. I'm going to track this out for Union as it is on the ground. We're about to get an update, so we'll hold off on this. Data is currently loading. Maybe it'll load? Maybe? Potentially? Looks like it's not going to want to load for us. Okay. Anyhow, we'll move with what we have. Potentially. Things are slowing down here internet-wise. I'm pretty sure we're having impacts. The power may go out here in a few minutes for me, depending on how this moves. So don't be surprised if the stream cuts somehow. I'll try to go live on my phone if I can. But we'll see what happens. Okay. Having issues here. The radar's being very finicky. Not the time, radar. Not the time. We got something on the ground. 55 miles an hour. Union, you've got less than 5 minutes. You got to get on ground now. Gila House, 12 minutes. Villa Ridge, 14 minutes. I'm pretty sure you're going to be in the clear, though, Villa Ridge. Labadee, you've got 15 minutes. All right? You got it. Let's chop. Let's get on the ground right now. This is a real-world threat. Tornado is on the ground and has been confirmed by radar, causing significant damage as it just moved through Iker Ford. That is a very notable. It's tight, but it's notable, and it's still on the ground. It is actively moving towards Union. If you're on the south side of Union, you got to get down now. This is not something to play around with. Don't try to get pictures. This is actually on the ground, and it is causing damage. Get underground right now. This is very, very, very dangerous situation. Cannot stress to you how much, how dangerous of a situation this is. Hold on. I gotta check off to the north now. Bear in mind there is also hail occurring with these storms. So if you do try to go outside to see it, it's not going to be a good idea. I am actively getting rain here, so I'm not going to be able to see anything, but it is moving pretty much right towards the town of Labadee. It looks like I may be able to just barely miss this, but I am probably going to evacuate to my basement here in a few minutes. Everybody else should heed the same warning as I am. This is just about to move into Union. Okay, good news. It does look like it's trying to weaken a little bit, but it is still on the ground. So Union, no matter what, get on the ground. It's likely going to cause some damage. And it could, the strength could strengthen. It could wane. Who knows? All right, it looks like we just got a new scan on the normal radar. It's hard to tell what happened. It might have just fallen apart. Might have potentially just fallen apart. Waiting for a new scan on this, though, before I say anything. This is a very dangerous situation, as has already been mentioned. There are no current cameras available, so I can't see what's happening on the ground as this is happening. Oh. Power just tried to flash where I am. Come on, I need for this to update. All right, it's still on the ground. It is in the south side of Union. If you're at Highway 47 at East Central, you need to be underground right now. This is impacting that area right now. East Central, I'm having power flashes here. East Central, you got to get down, like now. This is happening within the next 30 seconds. You're going to be hit. This is moving immediately towards Highway V. If anybody has Jacob Vonder's number, tell him to get underground right now. This is coming towards him. Villa Ridge. This is moving off towards you. Carrie Schmidt. Yes, this is moving towards you. Get underground. Get whatever. Get underground now. This is not something to joke around with. This is an active tornado, confirmed on the ground, causing damage, lifting debris aloft. We'll take a look around the rest of the area. It doesn't look like anything else has touched down for the moment. It looks like they're going to discontinue that tornado warning to the north. All right. We're going to need to wait for this to update. It's going through Union right now. Union, you're being hit. Everybody who's watching, if you can, say a prayer for folks in Union. They're getting hit by a tornado right now. located over Union. We're going to time this out. I'm going to evacuate here in about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll try to take you with me, and we'll ride it out. Villa Ridge, you've got 5 minutes, I'd say. Gray Summit, under 10. Labadie, you're looking at under 10 as well. And then Oilers, St. Albans, you've got under 15. Anybody in this path needs to be underground right now. I'm about to evacuate. All right. Emergency services, if anybody's watching, Union is in the process of getting hit. The Walmart Supercenter is right in the center of the tornado when this was scanned. This is happening over Union right now. This is crazy. What is happening up towards Krakow? Give me a second, folks. We might have a developing situation now. It just looks like hail. Very large hail falling over Krakow right now. Washington, you're getting hail. Washington, you're in the clear as far as the tornado goes for the moment being. So I wouldn't worry about you too much. But Union, you're in it. Villa Ridge, you're about to be in it. I'm about to be in it. Gray Summit, if anybody's watching Gray Summit, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Labadie, tornado shelter. St. Albans, tornado shelter. Even off towards Wildwood, you need to be in your tornado shelter as well. Fox Creek, Hollow. If you're up towards Chesterfield, get underground right now. I'm about to start moving towards our shelter. I'm going to wait until it gets closer to Villa Ridge before I move, though. All we can do now, folks, is pray. And then, if we can, we're going to need to start mobilizing rescue efforts, because this is very strong damage that is occurring. I'm potentially going to end the stream and move it over to my laptop and move down to an underground shelter here in just a few minutes. So this stream might go dark for just a moment. I'll have another one up and running here in a few minutes. But let me see if I can start it yet on this one. So bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Moment. Okay, it looks like we are currently